Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, fellow fans, as if we're all settling in for a brand new, heart-wrenching season of our favorite anime. Today, we're diving deep into the tragic tale, the beautiful, bittersweet symphony that is the complete life story of Aki Hayakawa. A classic, brooding anime hero, straight out of central casting. He's got the cool demeanor, the impeccable fashion sense, and a tragic backstory that fuels his every move. Aki's story begins with a classic shonen trigger, a devastating loss. His family, taken by the gun devil, leaving him with nothing but a heart full of ashes and a soul-burning vow of vengeance. This was his Sasuke Uchiha moment, his Orang Jaeger drive. He joined public safety, not for glory, but for revenge, and we all leaned in, thinking, alright, let's see this cool guy take down the big bad. To understand a character like Aki Hayakawa, we must first journey not to the battlefield stained with devil blood, but to a quiet, snow-blanketed moment in time. This is the genesis of our tragic hero, the single, shattering event that would carve the path for everything to come. We are trained, as anime fans, to recognize the archetype, the brooding, stoic young man with a dark past. But Chainsaw Man doesn't just present the archetype, it forces us to live inside its creation, to feel the very second a heart turns from warm flesh to cold, hardened resolve. Imagine the scene, rendered in soft, pastel tones and gentle background music. A young Aki, his hair not yet the stark white of perpetual mourning, stands in a pristine Hokkaido landscape. The world is hushed, the only sound the crunch of fresh snow underfoot and the distant, joyful laughter of his younger brother, Taiyo. This isn't a backdrop for epic fantasy, it's a slice of life anime intro. It's the kind of peaceful, mundane afternoon that characters in other shows take for granted. They are building a snowman, or having a snowball fight, the kind of simple, human joy that defines a normal childhood. Aki's primary concern in this moment isn't the survival of humanity, it's that his brother's hands are getting too cold. Go get your gloves, he says, a simple act of brotherly care. Taiyo nods, a bright smile on his face, and scurries back towards the warm, inviting light of their home. This is the calm, this is the before, and in the best traditions of anime tragedy, the after arrives not with a slow build, but with the sudden, brutal force of a sniper's round. The shift is visceral, the gentle soundtrack scratches into static and then erupts into a deafening, metallic roar. The soft light of the home is consumed by an expanding sun of splintered wood and pulverized concrete. The warmth is stolen by a shockwave of pure, concentrated hatred. The gun devil doesn't just attack, it erases. It is a geometric, calculating force of annihilation, moving at speeds too fast for the human eye to comprehend. In the space of a single, skipped heartbeat, the home where Aki's entire world resided is gone. His parents, the architects of his life. His little brother, Taiyo, whose only crime was forgetting his gloves. They are not just killed, they are unmade, reduced to a red mist and memory. This is where the archetype is born. Aki does not scream, he does not cry, the trauma is so absolute, so world-shattering, that it bypasses hysteria and goes straight to a terrifying, crystalline silence. He stands there, a small boy in a suddenly vast and cruel world, the snow around him now stained a grotesque pink. The camera would linger on his face, a close-up on eyes that have seen the end of everything, the light within them extinguished and replaced by a single, burning ember. That ember is vengeance. This is not a child's desire for petty revenge. This is a cosmic realignment of a human soul. His purpose is no longer to live, to love, to grow. His purpose is now a function, to find the entity that did this and destroy it. He becomes a living, breathing algorithm of hatred. When he joins public safety, it is not out of a noble desire to protect humanity. Let's be clear, for Aki, humanity is an abstract concept, a background to his personal tragedy. He joins because public safety offers him a gun, a target, and a path. He is using the system as much as it is using him. He is the embodiment of the corporate drone trope, but in a world where the corporate ladder leads straight to hell. He clocks in, he kills devils, he clocks out, all to earn enough credit to get a shot at the one devil that matters. His signature weapon, the sword of the cursed devil, becomes the perfect metaphor for this self-annihilating path. Every time he unleashes its power, he pays for it with a piece of his own future. He is literally trading his life force for a momentary advantage. We, the audience, see this every time he fights. It's a constant, waving death flag, a visual representation of his suicide by purpose. He isn't afraid to die, he has already accepted his death. He is simply using the time he has left as currency to buy a ticket to his final confrontation. This vow isolates him, it makes him push away anyone who tries to get close. He is the lone wolf, the archetypal cooter, who believes that connections are vulnerabilities, that attachments will only lead to more pain. He builds walls around his heart not out of arrogance, but out of a desperate, terrified need to never feel that specific kind of loss again. To care for someone is to hand the world a weapon to use against you, and Aki has already been on the receiving end of that weapon once. He will not risk it again. This foundational trauma is what makes his subsequent dynamic with Denji and Power so profoundly powerful and heartbreaking. They are not just annoying roommates, they are walking, talking violations of his sacred vow. They are chaos, and impulse, and life, constantly trying to seep through the cracks in his armor. They force him to participate in the mundane world he has forsaken, to pay bills, to share food, to be exasperated, to feel a flicker of something that isn't rage or grief. His journey isn't about strengthening his vow, it's about the slow, painful, and reluctant erosion of it. We watch as the man who lived only for death is slowly, infuriatingly, dragged back into the messy, complicated, and beautiful business of living. And that is the true tragedy of Aki Hayakawa, not just the vow he made, but the life he was forced to rediscover just as his own was running out. If Aki Hayakawa's life were a traditional shonen narrative, his tragic backstory would neatly set him up for a redemptive arc with a plucky, loyal team. He'd find a new family in his comrades, the warmth of their friendship slowly melting his icy exterior. But Chainsaw Man is not a traditional narrative, and the found family it forces upon Aki is less a comforting hearth and more a chaotic, hilarious, and deeply frustrating dumpster fire. Imagine the scene. Aki, the consummate professional, the brooding archetype who operates on a strict code of vengeance and quiet efficiency, is assigned 2 new wards. On his right is Denji, a feral, uneducated boy motivated primarily by base desires like bread and the female form, who also happens to have a pull cord for a heart that transforms him into the Chainsaw Devil. On his left is Power, the Blood Fiend, a self-proclaimed genius who is, in reality, a gloriously arrogant, narcissistic cat in human form, whose primary contributions to household management are creating messes and shirking responsibility. This isn't the Noble Squad 13 or the Straw Hat Pirates, this is a catastrophic administrative error that has been weaponized into a living situation. The initial dynamic is a masterclass in comedic suffering. Aki, the designated, straight man, in this bizarre comedy duo, is subjected to a constant, relentless assault on his sanity. His carefully ordered world, built on the solemn pillars of revenge and self-sacrifice, is systematically dismantled by the twin tornadoes of Denji's simple-minded chaos and Power's grandiose laziness. We, the audience, are treated to the spectacle of watching a tragic anime hero be reduced to a long-suffering salaryman dealing with the most absurd domestic grievances imaginable. He isn't battling inner demons over his past, he's battling over unpaid rent, stolen food, and the fact that one of his roommates tried to sell the other's pet for cash. This is the deconstruction of the trope. The family doesn't heal him through heartfelt speeches and shared determination. It annoys him back to life. The walls he built around his heart aren't shattered by a dramatic climax, they are chipped away, day by day, by the mundane and the ridiculous. The need to corral these two forces him out of his own head and into the role of a reluctant caretaker. He becomes the grumpy older brother, the disciplinarian, the one who, despite his best efforts, ends up making breakfast for the very creatures disrupting his sacred mission. And in this forced proximity, tiny, fragile moments of genuine connection begin to sprout through the cracks in the concrete of his resolve. It's not in a grand battle, but in the quiet, shared silence after a meal he cooked. It's in the begrudging acceptance of a shared goal that isn't solely about killing the gun devil, but about something as simple and human as going to the movies together. Denji and Power, in their profoundly broken ways, reintroduce him to the rhythm of a normal life. They don't care about his vow or his trauma, they care that he's there, a stable, if perpetually irritated, presence in their chaotic existence. This forced normalization is what makes his character arc so profoundly tragic. Just as he is reluctantly, painfully, being dragged back from the brink of total self-annihilation and learning to live again, the clock on his own shortened lifespan is ticking down to zero. The family he never wanted becomes the life he couldn't keep. In the world of shonen anime, A hero's weapon is often an extension of their will, a symbol of their growing strength and resolve. Think of the iconic Zangetsu or the Third Hokage's legendary staff. But in the brutal, subversive reality of Chainsaw Man, Aki Hayakawa's signature armament, the Sword of the Cursed Devil, is not a symbol of power, but a monument to his self-destruction. It is a weapon that literally consumes its wielder, making it the perfect, heartbreaking metaphor for his entire tragic journey. The mechanics are as simple as they are horrifying. Every time Aki unleashes the Cursed Devil's power, it shortens his remaining lifespan. This isn't a vague, potential risk or a dramatic exaggeration, it is a quantifiable, ticking clock. Each swing of that ominous, nail-like blade is a direct trade, a transaction where the currency is his own future. Imagine a hero not growing stronger with each battle, but actively burning the very days of his life as fuel for a momentary advantage. This concept transforms every fight from a display of power into an act of profound despair. When Aki steps onto the battlefield, he isn't just risking death, he is inviting it, accelerating its arrival with every conscious decision he makes. This creates a constant, oppressive sense of dramatic irony for the audience. We are made acutely aware of the price tag attached to his every victory. While other characters might celebrate a hard-won fight, we are left with the chilling knowledge that Aki has just paid for that win with hours, days, or even years of his life. The sword becomes a visual, death flag, more potent than any other in anime. It's not a subtle hint, it's a screaming alarm that counts down with every encounter. This weapon forces us to see Aki not as an invincible devil hunter, but as a man living on borrowed time, desperately spending a finite resource in the vain hope that he can achieve his goal before the account hits zero. Furthermore, the nature of the Cursed Devil's power reflects the corrosive nature of his vendetta. A curse is not a clean cut or explosive blast, it is a slow, insidious, and inevitable form of harm. It perfectly mirrors his quest for revenge against the Gun Devil. His hatred isn't a fiery passion that will one day burn out, it is a poison that has seeped into his very soul, gradually and inexorably eating away at him from the inside. The sword is merely the physical manifestation of this internal decay. He is cursed not just by the devil he contracted with, but by the oath he swore as a child. In the end, the ultimate tragedy of the Cursed Devil's sword is that it reveals the fundamental flaw in Aki's mission. He believed he could trade his future for a meaningful past. He saw his life as a coin to be spent on vengeance. But as his story unfolds and he is reluctantly drawn into a life with Denji and Power, we see the horrifying cost of this transaction in real time. He is trading away precious moments of a life that is, against all odds, becoming worth living. The weapon that was meant to be his path to vengeance becomes the very chain that ensures he will never have a future, making his resolve the most beautiful and devastating kind of curse. If Aki Hayakawa's story followed a conventional shonen blueprint, his narrative would culminate in a final, cathartic clash with the Gun Devil. He would either achieve his vengeance in a blaze of glory, finding peace in his final moments, or he would make a heroic sacrifice to save his new friends, having learned that there are things more important than revenge. Chainsaw Man offers no such solace. Instead, it delivers one of the most masterful and gut-wrenching subversions in modern anime, transforming Aki's story from a tragedy of vengeance into a tragedy of cruel, cosmic irony. The foundation of this subversion is laid with meticulous, almost cruel, care. The entire story is permeated with Aki's deep-seated, specific fear of the Gun Devil. It is the monster that haunts his every waking moment, the name he whispers with a mixture of hatred and terror. He has dedicated his soul and shortened his life for a single shot at this entity. Yet, the narrative twists the knife by having the Gun Devil itself remain an elusive, almost abstract threat for so long, while a more immediate, insidious danger closes in, the future devil. His contract with this entity, which grants him precognition in exchange for a truly horrifying fate, is the first major flag that his end will not be a simple, honorable death. The ultimate subversion is not just that Aki dies, but how he dies. He never gets his showdown. He never lands a single, meaningful blow on the Gun Devil. Instead, in a cruel twist of fate that feels both shocking and terrifyingly inevitable, he becomes the very thing he swore to destroy. The control of the Gun Devil is forced upon him by Makima, transforming him into the Gun Fiend. This is not a possession, it is a complete and utter erasure of his identity. The stoic, caring, and deeply tormented young man is gone, replaced by a hollow, mechanical puppet of his greatest nightmare. The true horror of this fate is not the physical transformation, but the psychological annihilation. In his final moments as the Gun Fiend, There is no glimpse of the real Aki fighting from within, no last-minute reclamation of his soul for a noble sacrifice. He is simply gone. The person who hated the gun devil more than anything in the world is used as its vessel, and his own found family, Denji and Power, are forced to confront the hollow shell of their brother, a shell that is now actively trying to kill them. He becomes a living, breathing monument to the futility of his own quest. This conclusion is a brutal rejection of the very idea of a satisfying, redemptive arc. It argues that in a world as nihilistic and cruel as this one, some curses are inescapable, and some fates are so twisted that they defy any sense of poetic justice. Aki's story is not about finding a new purpose, it is about having his original purpose weaponized against him in the most personal way imaginable. His legacy is not one of vengeance achieved or lessons learned, but a chilling warning about the self-consuming nature of hatred. He is not killed by his nemesis, he is unmade by it, ensuring that his complete life story remains one of the most tragically subversive and unforgettable arcs in anime.